The Texas heat is sizzling, but the bite couldn't be any hotter, so grab your rods and some cold drinks, and let's go catch some fish. It's time for the Texas Insider Fishing Report, which starts right now.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Hello friends, and thanks for joining us for another week of the Texas Insider Fishing Report. This week I am joined by Captain Jim Ross, who is filling in for Rick this week. Welcome to the show, Jim.
I am so glad to be here. It's a great time. I got to do it last year.
Yep.
I get to do it again this year. We're going to have a great show. Hopefully you guys and gals are ready because we got some good stuff coming at you right now.
Yes, we do. We're glad to have you back. And despite the Texas summertime heat, our captains and guides are ready to help us catch everything from bass and crappie to flounder and wahoo. So let's check in at the workbench with Dave Farrell, and then we'll get right down to business. Dave, how's it going over there?
It's good. We're going to be talking a little bit about trolling offshore. We're going to do like a 101 trolling little class here. Trolling 101.
Trolling 101.
Yeah.
I like
Basic
it.
stuff.
Basic, but necessary.
All good stuff, though.
All good and necessary. All right, well, we're starting off in the STARTRON Middle Fresh region, where Matt Loescher has a few helpful tips on Sam Rayburn, Toledo Bend, and Richland Chambers. Start us off to a great weekend, Matt.
All right, Brie, will do. So it has been really hot, but thankfully the bite has been still pretty good. So we've been enjoying it and just trying not to stay out there too late in the middle of the day. We're going to start out with the largemouth bass this week on Toledo Bend. You're going to want to look for large congregations of shad out near the ends of the flats and the drains and around the creek channels. Deep diving crankbait and 11-inch Bass Assassin worms have been good for the bigger bites, while more slender worms like the Bass Assassin Tap Out or a Little Tapper are perfect rigged on a shaky head, catching more numbers. And you're also going to want to have your favorite Berkley topwater plug at the ready, because occasionally they will come up to the surface chasing those shad when they get near the top. You'll want to have it real close at hand because it doesn't usually last very long, but you might get a few fish real quick if you're ready, so have that prepared. Our water level here on Toledo now is down about 2.8 feet from full pool level, so many of the stumps are starting to show in the reservoir. You're going to want to use extra caution when traveling outside of the boating lane. The good news, though, is that as this water level gets on down to this level and below, many of these stumps become visible. So navigating around them gets easier the lower that the water gets. Just take it slow. Idle speed is what you want to do, and it's normally no big deal at idle speed if you bump into one. There has still been regular generation at the dam, so the water level should continue to come on down at a slow, steady pace. We'll be seeing more and more of those stumps sticking up above the surface in the near future. And thanks to that generation, the water still has some good movement to it, which is helping with the bite. The water temperature now is around 85 in the mornings, rising all the way up to the low 90s in the afternoon. It's getting pretty darn hot. So you're going to want to get out there early. Also, on Toledo Bend, we've had a couple of spots open up for our annual youth bass fishing camp here at Living the Dream Guide Service. This is a 5-day summer camp for kids ages 12 to 17 years old. During this camp, we cover all things bass fishing. We do some classroom stuff and a lot of on-the-water time. We put you in a boat every day with an experienced guide so you can learn from the best. It's going to be held on July 25th through the 29th this year. And you can find more info, including our phone number, at our website, ltd.fish. We only have a couple of spots left available for this, so make sure that you get it booked quickly if you're interested. Now, moving over to Sam Rayburn, there's still some big fish being caught despite the summer heat over there. Rusty's team tournament hosted their 4th annual Stan Burgay Memorial Tournament this past Saturday, and this is a great event because all the proceeds from this event go to the Stan Burgay Memorial Scholarship Fund. So if you didn't participate this time, make sure you enter that one next year. It's a great cause. The top honors for that event went to Johnny Fountain and Brooks Hale. It was a 3-fish tournament, and their best 3 weighed over 16 pounds. So very impressive, guys. Congrats on that one. It took over 13 pounds just to get in the top 5 on this one. And that is really cool to me right now, considering that it's July and it's super hot, and it still took over a 4-pound average to make the top 5. So really a testament to how good Rayburn's fishing for big fish right now. Rusty's going to be hosting another event over there on July 23rd. So check out his Facebook page for all the details on that one. Now, for how they're catching these things, typical summertime stuff on Rayburn, basically. Crankbait, jigs, and Carolina rigs are what's producing all these big ones. So just keep it simple with the summer staples and catch some of those giants. Now, moving up north to Richland Chambers, Mr. Thurman Selman with Bass Specialty Guide Service is beating that summer heat by fishing mornings and evenings on his trip right now. Mr. Thurman said he's fishing in the morning until about 11 a.m., and he's resuming in the evening at 6 and fishing until about 9. He's catching most of his fish in 15 to 20 foot of water using Carolina rigs with Bass Assassin 11-inch worms hanging behind it. He uses dark colors on those worms and fishing around brush and boulders, really slowly dragging that rig over the cover and making long pauses before hopping it over a piece of cover to entice those strikes right now in this hot water. Now, switching it over to the crappie for just a minute before we quit. Toledo Ben and Sam Rayburn are still pretty fair for the crappie. We aren't catching quite the numbers that we were a few weeks ago, but it's certainly nothing to complain about. And the size of the ones we're catching has been really good lately as well. Best activity has been in about 15 to 30 foot of water still around the timber and the bridge pilings, and live minnows have been the best bait. You're going to want to put them down there to the right depth and let them sit really still. Don't move the bait much. And I'm going to leave you with a photo of two couples there with a bunch of big slab crappie that we caught recently.
Well, thanks, Matt. We appreciate that. Here are the Rodan Marine System hotspots for the Middle Fresh-Egan. Matt says largemouth bass are congregating in large schools in 10 to 20 feet of water. They're biting crankbaits and worms best, and crappie are in the 15 to 30 foot depths, and you're going to want to use live minnows to get those fish.
All right, Jim, well, we're staying hot on all levels in the lower fresh region, but that isn't stopping Matt Reed from finding some big ones, so let's see how he's doing it.
All right, Brie, let's get this thing rolling. We'll start out with a largemouth bass. Down in my baby, down at Falcon Lake, the temperature's been brutal the last week or 10 days, but fishing is off the charts. My best success has been cranking rock ledges in 10 to 20 feet of water. Also, we're throwing 10-inch Texas rig worms into man-made brush piles and along the rocks out in that same 10 to 20 foot depth also. The key in the brush piles is to pull your worm up into the middle of the pile and go real slow. Let it yo-yo over a limb. Hold it there, move it, come over that limb, let it fall back, and hold it still in the middle of the pile, and that's when they'll load up. In the last 10 days, we've had 5 days where our best 5 are over 30, and one day where we had 40 pounds. I mean, those are just crazy big fish, and it's a phenomenal bite down here right now. Mike Bates has sent me a report for Choke Canyon. Summer has really set in, he said. The high temps and no clouds are just making that early topwater bite last for a short window. It's still been really good, but it's only lasted until about 7:30. Catching them on frogs and popper-style baits. Once the sun gets up, the bass are cruising on the grass lines, feeding on shad. Chatterbaits, spinnerbaits, and square bills have worked well. The best bite, most consistent there now, is punching through the hydrilla mats. You want to get a heavy rod with 65-pound braid and a 1-ounce weight in your favorite, flipping creature bait. Drop it through the mat, bounce it a couple times, and do it again. Take it out and do it again. When you find fish, they are extremely bunched up. So when you get a bite, you want to get right back in there because there'll be a bunch more of them. Brian Cotter sent me some reports from the Austin area. Lake Buchanan's fishing well on the rocks. Early, you want to throw top waters, either walking style or poppers, over the shallow rocks. Later in the day, you want to throw a medium crankbait and a jig out on those rocks in that 10 to 12 foot of water to continue to get bites. Lake LBJ, the fish are feeding early. Look for the shallow water willow or vegetation around the docks and bulkheads and throw a frog or a fluke-style bait up on that shallow water. Later, move out on the rock piles, throw shaky heads or jigs or Carolina rigs with green pumpkin. It's real key to dye the tail chartreuse on your plastics there right now. Fishing at night around the lights has been great. Throws 4-inch free-rig swim baits slowly through those green lights and to avoid the heat and catch a bunch of fish. Lake Marble Falls is also fishing well. The bass are shallow early. You can get bit on a frog or a fluke around the shallow vegetation and the edges of the docks. Later in the day, you want to work the jigs around brush and rock. Also, skip that jig way back under the docks in the shade. That's where he's getting quite a few big bites. Got 2 pictures here of some bass this week. These are both fish from Falcon. One was a young man named Hayden that came with me for his 16th birthday. Big old fish, and then Lyle has him another one. It's just amazing how many big fish we catch down here.
Well, happy birthday to that young gentleman. What a great present.
Oh, wow. It's a handful. It's a handful.
That's a handful. Let's talk about some crappie. The Falcon Lake crappie are grouped up on the brush piles in that 12 to 20 foot. Sit directly over the pile, drop an 1/8 ounce jig vertically into it. The key is to hold your bait really still just above the fish. Remember, a crappie feeds up. He will not go down to get him. Lots of limits are being caught. That's just ugly old me there with a picture of a typical falcon crappie, just a great keeper size with, we have a lot of big ones mixed in.
Looking good.
Looking
White
good.
bass. I'm just rolling. White bass. We got Lake Buchanan. If you're after whites or stripers, just look for them feeding on the surface right now. They're schooling everywhere. Get any moving bait that looks like a shad in white or chrome, and you can catch as many as you want, Brian Cotter says. Having a similar thing down here at Falcon right now. The white bass are surface schooling early in the mornings all over the lake. You want to play saltwater here. You want to look for the gulls, just like you would in the saltwater, on schooling fish. The gulls will lead you to them. Once you get there, it's not that big a deal to catch them. Any shad imitation will load the boat. Limits have been pretty easy.
Well, thanks, Matt. That's a great tip. Of course, those birds swinging over the top like that is just a neon sign saying stop and fish
Stop
here.
here.
But here's the Fiber Tech hotspots for the lower fresh region. Matt says the fish bite on the upper coast region. If you're looking for fast action, the white bass are off the chain at both Lake Buchanan and Falcon Lake right now. Look for fish busting shad on the surface and throw any shad style lure into the melee and you will load the boat.
You always want to look for that activity.
It's a neon sign. It's like fish here,
fish here. Exactly. All right. Well, the Fish Bites Upper Coast region is coming up with your weekend fishtivities. But first, we're wandering over to the workbench for some rigs and techniques with Dave Farrell.
Yep, we're going to have some tips here. They're going to save you time and money and get you more bites.
And neon signs, probably. More neon signs with that
hope
Trolling
so.
101. We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Bahio Sunglasses. Blue light blocking. Radically clear lenses. GARMIN. Plot your paradise. FiberTex. Leaders in fiberglass fabrication and repair. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. Berkeley. Your fish, our science. And Skeeter Performance Fishing Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
Well, we're here at the workbench with Dave, and Dave, we're going to talk Trolling 101 today.
Yeah, it's summertime and everybody's getting ready to go out there and try to catch their dolphins and wahoos and tunas and whatnot because, it's summer and usually it lays down. It's usually a lot nicer for everybody. So first thing you want to do is, because the ocean is a giant empty and you've got a ton of water to choose from, the first thing you want to do is you want to invest in getting a fish finding service like Hilton's or Roth's. Satellite service that'll pinpoint an area where you can start. So when you leave in the morning, you said, okay, we're going to head 25 miles out this way, or 30 miles, or 60 miles, or 120 miles, that's where we're going to have to start today.
It's interesting you say that because a lot of guys that don't have that service, they think, oh, we'll just run, and we'll see something. Sometimes they miss it.
Yeah, you'll go over it.
Yeah, and you go past it, and you run right past the fish.
Exactly. And Hilton's, if you get out to Hilton's or Roth's, you get out to where you think they said it was, you can get on the phone and say, hey, there's nothing here. They say, well, over the night it moved this way.
A little bit.
And they'll send you on your way.
Currents never stop. So where do we start? We put baits out, we put lures out.
Well, if you're in the Gulf of Mexico, we want to start with lures because we got to cover ground. There's not a million fish out there. We want to try to get in that one good spot, and then we want to try to pull our lures at good speed, 8 knots, somewhere we can cover a lot of ground. If we see some live baits in the water or a weed line or something, we can slow down and put a dead bait lure combo out. And then if we see a fish like a marlin eating, or we mark a big fish over a mountain or something, that's when we put the live baits out. We'll stop completely and put a live bait out.
Work the area very thoroughly.
Correct. Because all those things, lures, worst hookup ratio, bait lure combo, a little bit better. Live bait, the best.
The best.
So that's what you want to do there. You want to put out, when you're putting your baits out, when you first start out, put all your long baits out first. You know, work your way back to the boat. That way you're not weaving in. I've seen guys put their short stuff out and then having to weave past, or they put all their, you know, teasers too, and then they, you know, and they're trying to weave all this stuff out through there, and you know, it's a pain in the butt.
This thing looks great in the water, but there's no hooks in it.
That's right.
So the teaser goes in last.
Yeah,
you always, if you're going to put the teaser in first, you might as well grab the gaff before the teaser. You're doing it wrong, right?
And it's one of my peeves when I see the guys put all the teasers out first with no hooks in them, because you know we might pull a fish up and we got nothing out for him to eat that teaser. What we got,
yeah,
we're gonna have to pitch real quickly. You know. Also, you want to put your big baits in close. You know, obviously they pull a little better from a lower angle. A big lure does, and it's not pulling against your outriggers really heavy. You know, when you have a big lure like this heavy lure right here,
right?
You know, you don't want to. You know, you
that's
could pull that one from a medium.
Resistance.
Yeah, you could pull that from your medium, your short rigger.
So
but you probably wouldn't want to pull that.
On your board, this goes where?
This one would be on the shorts.
So you're getting it right in there.
Maybe up to here. But the reason I have this board up here is because you want to, when you put all your lures out, starting from the little ones to the big ones in here, you want to make sure that they're all parallel. See how these are all even? You don't want them staggered, because if I go to make a turn when I get a bite, then those lines will cross, because they're not the same length. It'll cross like this when I go to make a turn. And what I want to do when I hook any fish is dolphin, everything except for a wahoo. Everybody don't like to turn too much on a wahoo, but I do a lot anyway, just because it's ingrained in me now.
Right.
When I hook a fish and I see the fish taking off this way, I'm going to do a slow turn that way towards that fish. Have the angler winding the slack to keep tight. That way I can pull in all the stuff that I have on the inside of that turn, leave all the stuff out on the outside,
to potentially
and
get a
keep fishing for doubles and triples. Nobody's ever caught a double or a triple. The first bite they get, let's reel everything in and then start backing up. Then there's fish with him. There's fish. Well, it's too late now because we don't have nothing left in the water, and we're going backwards instead of
smaller
forward.
baits outside, bigger baits inside.
Right.
Where do you like to run the lure? On the face of the wave, on the crest of the wave, or on the back side of the wave?
Well, usually you want it to be where you can see it the best. I don't think it, you know, a lot of guys, the lure makers will say, my lures work better on the front or on the back side. A good lure is going to run straight and going to stay in the water at the speeds that I'm wanting to go.
Right.
And that's all I care about what it does.
So as long as you can see it, that's all you're concerned about.
As long as I can see it. And people always say, how far back do you want to put your stuff? I want the captain to be able to see the lure or the bait easily and be able to see the spot behind it so that he can tell the anglers, hey, we've got a fish up behind the left long. We have a fish up behind the right long.
Gotcha.
Because we catch fish a lot easier that way.
That was a whole lot to cram into a couple of minutes.
My mouth is dry.
Hopefully you guys and gals out there caught all that. If not, you can always watch the show over again. Now we're going to go find out where Brie wants to take us next. Where are we going, Brie?
Rewind. Well, we are going to the Fish Bites Upper Coast region, inshore and offshore. Let's talk to Carl Weston and see what he's got for us. Go for it, Carl.
Hey, Brie. Hi, Jim. Hey, the Reds here at Galveston and all the way back to, east of Sabine Pass have been really solid this week. From the slots inshore to those big bulls out on the beach, it's hard to miss this kind of action right now. I know it's been blistering hot all month, but get out there and catch you some of this. Get some of this action. Be careful because of the heat. I'd say go early, go back late, but don't miss this bite. The inshore fish are still tearing up live shrimp or croaker on a popping cork. But as hungry as these fish are, artificial is killing it just as well. It's hard to get them to pass on that old Fight Club shrimp on about a 1/4 ounce jig head. Fish Bites has, hit another home run with this bait. It's working really well. The beachfront is on fire. This is for the second week in a row. It's producing really big fish. We're fishing fresh whole shad on about a 6/0 trocar hook. Run about a 3-foot piece of diamond leader and a 6-ounce sinker. We have a picture here today of young Dylan with a really nice red. Then bumping over to the trout, the inshore bite has improved in the upper coast, and the trout bite is coming along with it. It's getting better. Around Galveston, over on the oyster reefs that are located in the middle of the bay, is really good. The grassy shoreline's back, running back to the inlets. We're seeing a lot of finger mullet, a lot of shad, so watch for the birds in the morning. The birds are going to direct you right to these fish. And as we've did the red fish report, the beach is holding big trout as well. The anglers are using surf rods with those big pen spinners to reach out there and get some of these beautiful trout. A basic one hook bottom rig tipped with mullet, shad, or shrimp is the ticket. Do not miss out on this bite either. It's hot right now. We have an awesome photo of a father and son, Dylan and Mark Castor, with a full stringer here today.
Happy gentleman
Very
right there.
nice, very nice stringer. Look at those smiles. That's what it's about. It's about making those memories.
So, thinking offshore, guys, we're going to go back to red snapper because it's been a little tough. The bite's been a little slow here in the upper coast. And it seemed to really turn back on this week. I don't know where they came from. We were catching a lot of little fish, a lot of little dinks, but the bigger fish have moved back in and moved back in quickly. In the 100 to 60-foot range, it seems like that's our best size. We're still using cut squid and squid-flavored bait has been our go-to choice. The heavy jigs tipped with fish bites is a lot of fun. Put that on a spinning rod, guys. You catch these fish 10, 14, 16 pounds. They're going to give it to you on a spinning rod, and it's a lot of fun. We have a picture today of Mario and Nancy with a nice snapper.
Tasty.
I take it.
Then let's bump off shore. Kingfish again. Kingfish has been slow, but for the second week in a row, I can report that it's getting better. The fish are getting bigger. Once again, we run into a lot of little dinks. We're wondering where the big girls at. Little deeper water, we're seeing better fish. We're seeing a lot of them moving over this bottom structure, chasing bait. So we don't have as many surface platforms as we used to. You've got to run and look a little bit, have some spots, some rocks. Catching live bait has been the real plus, though, I'm going to tell you. Being able to stay rigged up with the same bait fish that these kings are chasing gives you advantage all day long. Like you talked about, live bait is where you want to be. We had a chance to this week put a few big fish on the deck. Now, I tried something that I hadn't done before. Is I ran nothing but the R&R titanium leaders with the hook, single hook, and I abused them all weekend, and I had 0 fails on those. That is an awesome hook for kingfish, and kingfish are hard on stuff. But artificial lures, Berkeley Magic Swimmer's working good, and gold and silver spoons are working good. Just remember to run that small leader, or you'll get pretty quick. The bill on those floss lures will tack up. Taco Marine, the shade fin, we used it this weekend, guys. Awesome. It was hot. Gave us lots of shade, no issues. And we have a picture of Natasha today with a nice 42-pound king she caught.
Hey, Tashi, that's no dink. Love it.
Man, they found the big ones. They got out of the dink spot and found the big ones. Well, thanks, Carl. Here are the R&R tackle hotspots for the upper coast region. Fishing for redfish from the beachfront, use cut shad and fish bites on a basic bottom rig. And offshore, target the snapper on structure in the 100 to 160 foot range. Use cut baits and squid on a bottom rig with an 8/0 Trocar circle hook, and that's going to get you those things. I'm telling you, Brie,
yes,
it is hot out there, but these guys have got some hot spots and hot bites going on. I love it. This whole Texas thing has got me fired up.
Does it?
It does. Being from Florida, I'm ready to go.
You're as fired up as the temps are. Let's get going. All right, coming up on the Texas Insider Fishing Report, we're seeing what the lower coast and middle fresh regions are blessing us with. So stay hooked, and we'll be right back. And remember, to keep up with everything fishing in Texas, make sure to head on over to our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and to see new fishing adventures along with our reports, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy. We will see you soon.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Island Lures, Tournament Tackle. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Sirius XM Marine, weather, fish mapping, entertainment. Shallow Sport, Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing, book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Penn, let the battle begin.
The F25 outboard motor from Yamaha has been so popular, it has been the leader in lightweight portable power since its introduction in 2016. Weighing as little as 126 pounds, the F25 offers boaters both power and convenience in a lightweight and easy to manage package with features that customers love. Those features include the highest power to weight ratio of any 25 horsepower outboard, 4-stroke or 2-stroke. Weight saving battery less. Electronic fuel injection designed to start with the first pull. Convenient carrying handles and resting pads for easier transportation and storage. And an external oil drain for easy maintenance. Now, Yamaha is adding 4 new models to the F25 lineup in 2022. First, Yamaha added the availability of power trim and tilt on a short shaft 25 models. Whether the remote control or the tiller operated, these 2 new 25-inch shaft models offer full trim and tilt at the touch of a button. That's the kind of convenience that many of you with smaller boats demand. The 6DR handle is shorter than the full-size 6X4 multifunction tiller handle, making the steering radius smaller, which is especially appreciated in limited space applications. It also has a built-in variable trolling RPM switch. Of course, the optional 6X4 multifunction tiller is still available as an add-on for remote control models. These features are what makes the F25 the most flexible and convenient portable powered outboard for the wide range of applications.
You know, Brie, what's really cool about the smaller Yamahas like that, if you've got a little tiller steer boat and you're using it on that, and then you go to another boat, you can actually move
Pick it up,
and change the type of operating system that boat runs off of. It's fantastic what Yamaha's done with some of their smaller motors. It's super versatile and, of course, reliable as they get.
Of course, it's Yamaha. All right, lower coast regioners, get ready for an awesome weekend, whether you'll be inshore on the black drum or flounder, or offshore reeling in red snapper, or some billfish. So let's get some more info from Captain Chad Kinney. Go for it, Chad.
I tell you what, this weekend I'll be fishing the Port Mansfield fishing tournament. We'll probably go doing an overnight trip, maybe to Perdido or out on Colt or somewhere. But the weather looks great, so I hope to see everybody down there. And I'll be down at the docks on the way in, talking about some good spots to fish. The black drum, which is really kind of odd, but this time of year especially. But they've been some really good numbers in Baffin Bay, actually even out of here at Port Mansfield, which is really kind of odd. They're on the drop-offs, and also here. Showing up in some signs of school and some east side of the Mansfield there. But moving over to the species, the first one, the black drum we're talking about, it's not a normal target here in the flats, but some of the big schools just north and south of the East Cut here in Port Mansfield. There's also been some big schools of redfish and some good numbers in the flats, which is kind of, like I said, kind of odd. It's early for the season to be doing that, but the best bet on this black drum, you see these big schools showing up, use a 3/4 ounce eagle claw jig head with a fish bite attached to it. And if you also have that in your arsenal, and I'll also use get some dead shrimp on a jig head, that works really good too. The key thing there is whether you're using the fish bites or the dead shrimp, throw it into the bottom of the school there, let it sit. Don't reel it in, don't jig it, don't do anything. Just kind of let it sit on the bottom. Those fish are going to pick it up. Let it lay there, and as soon as they pick it up, just go ahead and set the hook, and you're going to have a really good fight. On the redfish, if you're finding a school, saltwater assassin sea shad's working really good. A paddle tail works better. You can retrieve that a little quicker. Casting the schools there's been some big schools kind of by the pipeline all the way down to 3 Islands. They're on the move there, so try not busting them up. So if you're running your X3 or your Shallow Sport, kind of get up to them, maybe get your Rodan trolling motor out, kind of move into them, put it on anchor mode or on final level and get in there and kind of cast and attack them while you can. So we've got a picture here of some black drum. Had some clients that fish their own boat there. Had Gary Wisdom, Zach, and Pat, and they had a monster day on the black drum there, which is kind of rare.
Well, that's a great haul.
The flounder, the fishing conditions be really good. So the flounder, I've seen plenty of boats along the East Cut and the Guts, and some really good numbers still pushing there. We don't talk a whole bunch about flounder, but we have this year because those Guts are producing from the North Land Cut to the East Cut, down to Long Bar and drop-offs out of South Padre, Mesquite Flats. Use a 3/4 ounce eagle claw jig head with a fish bite on there, and just what you got to do is pound those Guts, just keep on casting, repeat all the drop-offs along the grass edges and sand pockets there. There's lots of undersized there, but there's a lot of big ones starting to pop up now, especially on the flats right past the Guts. If you're fishing a shelf and it pops up, hit past there also, and you're starting to pick up some 2, 3, 4 pounders. Got a picture here of a guy out of Fort Mansfield, Steve Shamlin. It's his son here. He caught got that Texas slam there, but the flounder there, he caught it in the tournament too. So congrats to his son. He did good in that tourney.
They're
Nice
not that
job.
shotgun.
Yeah, nice
Good
job.
stuff. You gotta love the slam.
Love
So,
it.
and there's been some slams on bill fishing. So talking about offshore, snapper fishing has been really good out in federal waters. State waters has a little bit of the crab hatch going on. So, but these calmer conditions, go out there and get that eagle claw jig on your fish bites and go ahead and drop them out there. Out deeper past that 100 fathom curve, has been really good numbers on billfish being released. And the Mansfield tournament, like I said, this weekend. And the first weekend of August is coming up right around the corner. So the TIFF tournament out of the island of South Padre is going to be out there. That'll be a big one also. So snapper fishing, like I mentioned, it's been good on the federal waters. Remember, it's 2 per person, but there's plenty of really good numbers, lots of fun. 1 to 3 ounce eagle claw jig head with fish bites attached, working great. We've been dropping them down slower to the middle column of the water there. You can see that on your GARMIN sounder. If you're fishing 150 foot, look for those fish in that 60, 70, 80 foot of water. And then when you get the fish up higher in the water column, if you want to, bring some extra chum with you, chum them up, let them they'll get between that 20 and 30 foot right below you, and you can lighten up your jig head on that. Moving to the billfish, that action's really picked up from, Port A, the whole lower coast, got some huge numbers, 100 fathom curve out to 80 miles. There was a decent rip out there. I talked to Sigsbee Deep, pretty good there. Pull a full spread of islanders, rigged with a ballyhoo, or if you're really starting to target, catch and release for tournament time coming up, the way to go is, it's hard, but you got to rig your dredges up with your mullet, have your ballyhoo rigged, eagle claw circle hooks, put 2 dredges out on your flats there. You got to have all your baits ready to go. Pitch bait also ready to drop back into those billfish and start feeding up, tease them in, feed them back. Takes a good full crew and everything else. If you guys are seasoned, it's good. If not, probably get one of those boats out there to take you out to be really good and lots of fun to watch and learn off like that. But it really increases your numbers of shots there once you find the fish and the bait balls that they're feeding on.
Well, thanks, Chad. Here's the shallow sport boats hot spots for the lower coast region. Chad says black drum have been really good in Baffin Bay and Port Mansfield. Fish off the flats and drop-offs. Redfish are showing up, and signs of schooling fish on the east side from Mansfield to 3 Islands out to South Padre. And then offshore, red snapper fishing in federal waters has been good. Out on the deeper areas past the 100 fathom curve, there are also good numbers of billfish. So it's a hot bite they got. Golly.
So hot. I know, it's crazy.
The billfish is something that we don't get a lot in my region, and these guys are really, really doing good out there. Just, I love it.
I know, it's summertime.
That's Dave fishing.
I know. All right, our GARMIN Middle Coast Region Captain Bink Grimes has your inshore and offshore report ready to go. So Bink, let's hear those heat adjustments. Bink, where are you at, Bink?
Well, Bink says that the trout is going to be the species that you're going to want to look for first, and most of the area has been, pretty good for trout right now. But Bink was saying that, in the salinity levels are getting higher than normal, and many of the species are traveling up the rivers and streams to find a balance of fresh and salt water. There's a lot of trout spread out all over the holes up in those areas. Wading has been good on incoming tide, and then early morning has been best because of the heat. When you're throwing top waters early, you're going to get those bites, and like they were saying in some of the other reports, up to probably 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then switch to bass assassins later in the day and fish along the deeper drop-offs. Several captains he's got have also reported 7 to 8 pound trout this week while wading the reefs east of Matagorda Bay. Guides found trout to 30 inches on top waters and soft plastics. West Matagorda Bay continues to produce as well. Sand and grass flats closer to the Port O'Connor jetty and past Cavallo saw similar results on sheep pups and little johns. And I believe we have Bink back.
Bink, tell us about
Yeah,
this.
we're here. Port O'Connor anglers, man, they've been enjoying consistent catches over Mid-Bay Reefs and San Antonio Bay. Guy Lynn Smith said he enjoyed a great topwater bite early in the morning over rafts of mullet. Later in the day, he's been throwing those chicken on a chain bass assassins and about belly to chest deep water. Freeport and Surfside anglers have been working the surf and the jetty with live shrimp for trout. Pluggers have been tossing mirror lures, bass assassins, and little johns. Rockport anglers have been working the sand and grass potholes with topwaters early in the morning. And the surf around Port Aransas has been hot on she-dogs and she-pups and mirror lures and little johns. And this weekend, our surf looks to be getting pretty flat as well. And we're going to try to get that surf. There's a lot of big shrimp. Our Gulf shrimp season opens this weekend. There's a lot of big old shrimp on the beach, and then there's a lot of trout too. There's a photo there.
Yeah.
Caesar, he caught and released that nice trout at the Matagorda jetty recently. There's a lot of good 5 and 6, 7 pound trout out there that we've been catching and releasing. Redfish, man, July normally presents low tides for redfish. However, tides have been about normal, not too high, not too low. back lakes have been a player, so have the shorelines and the marsh and our rivers, because we've been in a drought for most of 2022, and so the salinity levels are going way upstream, and so those redfish are following them. The jetty's another consistent player this month. Both of those fish are near the bottom and best on live finger mullet and large table shrimp. Like I said, the Gulf shrimp season opens the 15th, and lots of jumbo. That's Saturday, and lots of jumbo shrimp tight to the beach. So shrimp will be riding that incoming tide, and those redfish will be gorging on them. Then in Freeport and Surfside, lots of bull redfish just off the beach in 20 to 30 foot of water. Don't be surprised if you run into a tarpon out there. There's been silver king showing up regularly off our beach, but our good tarpon fishing off our beach usually happens best in August and September. Offshore, Michael Quebeca, I said wahoo and dorado are all over the weed lines. There's a lot of weeds out there, 200 foot of water. Wahoo are eating rig, ballyhoo, and deep diving crankbait. Those weed lines over the hilltops are holding billfish. Those nighttime swords have been productive about 80 miles out. Many of Quebeca's swords have been turned into smoked swordfish dip. Matter of fact, right now I'm smoking some swordfish for him right now, and man, it is really, really good. Out of Freeport, guide Mike Siegel said kingfish are excellent around the rigs and structure on slow-trolled sardines. Red snapper everywhere, he said, and those bonus mangrove snapper are mixed in with the red snapper as well. We're just about at the halfway point of July, and hope to bring you another good report from the GARMIN Middle Coast region next week. Please be good stewards of our bays and oceans, and give back more than you take.
Hey, Bink, real quick, you said the shrimp were really starting to run, and the tarpon were actually moving in and getting in with the bull reds. Is that because of those shrimp, or is there another type of bait fish in there as well right now?
Yeah, there's a lot of menhaden on the beach too, but a lot of times when Parks and Wildlife, they open up the Gulf shrimp season July the 15th, they're allowing those big 9 to 12 to 6 to 8 count Charlie shrimp on the beach, and those tarpon are eating those as well. But this time of year we get real large rafts of menhaden through here, and those tarpon are just shadowing them.
Coming in and crushing them. Well, thanks, Bink. That was a great report. Here's the Miralura hotspots from the Mid-Coast region. Captain Bink Grimes says the trout are good while working the jetty in Freeport on live shrimp, and bull redfish are also showing up along the beach and will hit shrimp as well. So that's a solid.
And he also likes his smoked swordfish with pico de gallo.
Pico de gallo.
Yeah,
I like smoked swordfish with just about anything.
Just about anything, right? Yeah, exactly. All right, well, coming right up, we're checking in with the Upper Fresh region, and then Dave has some new products for us at the Workbench. You ready to go shopping with Dave, Jim?
I am ready, because he's got some great stuff today.
Nice little chain there. The thrill of the chase. That's what this is all about.
Thrill of the chase.
Yeah.
It's always about that, isn't it?
Yep.
We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Tin Cup Mountain Whiskey. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a Miralure. Abu Garcia, Fish to Win. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Fenwick, feel everything. Diamond Fishing Products, our reputation is on the line. R&R Tackle, from our tackle box to yours. And STARTRON, start, run, and store with STARTRON.
POWERPOLE shallow water anchors aren't just for fishing. I use mine every day at the boat ramp. First, I get my bow rope ready and secured to my boat. Second, after the boat floats off the trailer, I walk the boat down the dock, push the back of the boat off the dock, and lower my POWERPOLE anchors. I then secure my bow line to hold the front of the boat. Using the POWERPOLE like this is a great way to prevent dings and dents and scratches on my boat, and keeps my boat tight to the dock without having to tie two lines off. Another great way to use my POWERPOLE at the docks, especially when they're busy, is sometimes after a charter, I'll come to the ramp and every slot will be full of boats. But over to the east or west of the ramp, there'll be a beach. I take my bow of my boat and beach it, lower my two poles, climb out of my boat, go get my truck, back in an open slot, go back to my beach, jump in my boat, load it up on the trailer, and I'm out of there. And that is the POWERPOLE tip.
Well, we're back at the new products workbench with Dave.
Yes.
And I tell you what, Dave, lots of good looking stuff here.
Yeah.
And continuing on that trolling theme,
Correct. We're going to start here with some jaw lures. That's the bill collector right there. It's a rig daisy chain. It's their jaw lures thing is they like to rig 2 deals in one. That's the chase. One lure chasing a skirt. That sort of thing.
So when you've got this out,
yeah,
it runs just, let me pull it tight here so you guys can get an idea at home.
Yeah, there you go.
It's going to pull a little in front of the other one.
Correct. And this, lure chasing the skirt there, but both of them have a hook in it. The skirt there has a little skirt to chase the 7-inch squid. It's got a 7/0 in it, and then the little 10-inch double chugger there, it's got a 10/0 in it.
Got the beads, the chafe gear, all the good stuff.
300-pound leader, and here we got a little rig daisy chain as well from Jaw Lures. Just a little smaller version of the same thing. It's a lure chasing, a little chugger head lure chasing 4 skirts.
Yeah, I was gonna say 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, 200-pound leader, little 4-inch skirts, and you pull that for 3 to 10 knots. Both of those things will catch everything. From dolphins to you wouldn't want a wahoo to put his nose in there, all that mono. But mackerels,
sailfish seem to really
sailfish, anything that's in a line like that, they love to pile on it. Yep. So go to jawlures.com and pick those up. Next we have TH Marine, some premium double braid dock line. This is the black 3/8 inch. It's 25 feet of it. The 3/8 inch is probably good for boat, about 20-foot boat. They make them in a 1/2 inch, a 5/8, and up to a 3/4, which goes all the way to a 60-foot boat. 100% premium double braided nylon with an eye spliced in it. So go to thmarine.com to get one of those.
And it looks like we've got a couple of new colors here in the Bass Assassin.
Yeah, with the Bass Assassin, those are the little skunk apes, and we got the watermelon red with blue pearl in it. And we also have the tilapia magic. The tilapia, we've got a lot of tilapias in the water now. Everybody's putting them in there for weed control. Well, they made a nice little skunk ape.
When they make little tilapias, they look just like that.
Correct. And then, they have the nice little vertical appendages on there. You can split the tail or leave it solid, whatever you want to do. Got a lot of different colors as well. You get 10 to a pack. So, you can buy 1 pack and fish for a while.
Fish all day.
Yeah.
What do we got here?
Bass Assassin, new color there. Go to bassassassin.com. Last but not least, we got the Berkley Magic Swimmer. These Magic Swimmers, you have to see them in the water to believe how they swim. They got that great big forward area that adds a lot of buoyancy, and with the split tail in it, it just moves like a snake. And it doesn't matter how fast or slow you're retrieving it. It really swims hard. And they make all different kinds as far as, sinking and non-sinking. These are the floaters right here. But you get all the way up to a 4.5 ounce. They make a really giant swim bait that's 4.5 ounces. And they make them from fast sinking, slight sinking, and then the top water. Just that really nice and enhanced cosmetics now. Improved hardware on them. These are all made for saltwater fishing now. We've got a lot of real heavy hardware so that they'll last.
And I'm just trying to hold this thing relatively still, and look how freely that moves. In the water, it's got to be incredible.
Everything eats those things. So got to go to berkleyfishing.com to pick those up.
Berkleyfishing.com.
And that's about it, man. We've run out.
Well, Dave, on those hard baits, have you fished those in our Florida waters?
Yes.
And how have they worked for you here?
They work great. Like I said, I've fished them in a lot of different places, and from you can troll them. The bass love them. You can troll them, up and down the beach for bluefish, or just about any jacks. Anything that'll eat a small fish will eat that thing.
This to me looks like something that would be fantastic to throw during our fall mullet run.
Yes.
It's about the same size as a finger mullet.
Yep. This is this is the mullet color too, and that's the little green mackerel.
Hardware.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
Beautiful.
You know what?
Berkleyfishing.com. Berkley-fishing.com.
Awesome.
That's a lot of good stuff over there, gentlemen.
It sure was.
Good job. All right, the Upper Fresh region is going off, and Mike McFarland has everything you'll need for some nice catches on Lake Fork, Tawakoni, Ray Roberts, Texoma, Athens, and Lavon. So, Mike, go for it.
Hey, Brie. Yeah, we are definitely catching fish up here in the upper region. It's hot, but let's tell you about it. Lake Fork. Lake level is 39644 as of this morning. The lake is 6 foot 6 inches below full pool and still falling. 88 degrees to 93 degree water temperature is what you'll find. Water clarity 1 to 2 foot. Bass are still being caught early on walking topwater baits like the Berkeley Jaywalker or the El Chapo. I found some really cool topwater fish early this morning in about 5 to 8 feet of water. The color bone white is your best color, and you really want to hit those random main lake points in the south end of the lake. Wind blowing are your best. Once the sun gets up high, I want you to go out looking offshore, hitting the deep ridges, humps, tree lines, and shell beds, 18 to 22 feet of water. Switch to football jigs and large worms, and even some half-ounce shaky heads with those big worms. Your best colors, green pumpkins with chartreuse dip tails, red bug, plum, and/or red shad. Here's a couple of pics actually, of a really cool, I don't get to fish a lot with my clients, but I got to wet a line last week and I caught a beautiful Lake Fork special.
Nice. Look at you. Awesome.
It was fun. So let's keep going. Texoma. The water's warming in the upper mid-80s now. Bass continue to be good early morning. Wind blown points, back to the pockets with buzz baits and the Berkeley Jaywalker once again. But once that sun rises, get off in that rock and the rock shelves with green pumpkin jigs, shaky heads, zoom magnum finesse worms, and any shad pattern crankbaits, deeper crankbaits that are banging in those rocks. Lake Tawakoni. Water temperature's the same, upper 80s, lower 90s. Early morning, they're still feeding on shad, but the Texas rig flukes and swim baits really are the best bet for that bite around vegetation. Frogs are still working, but slowing down a little bit as the hours of the day rise. You really need to move to the shaded structure like docks, and Texas rigs and shaky heads are working there. Lake Ray Roberts. Water temperatures again, high 80s. Frogs and walking topwater baits in the morning near grass and vegetation. Then again move deep with jigs, Carolina rigs, and shaky heads on the offshore structure. Really, the big worm bite seems to be the best, but I'm also finding a creature bait bite in green pumpkin and oxblood colors. Lake Weatherford. Water temperature is pretty stable around the 85, 86. The bass continue to be good on the shallow docks, the square bill crankbaits, and any shad pattern colors. But small stuff early in the morning catches some good fish. The Texas rig, ribbon tail worms, and shaky heads also working there in the plum and red bug colors. One of my favorite lakes, Athens with Kite J. Bonner. Athens is changing a lot. The bass are really starting to school offshore, and you can find some schools fish in the main body, and they go all day long. Surface activity all day long. Popping topwater lures and small swim baits, but also look deep on the humps, points, and the outside grass lines with small crankbaits, Carolina rig worms, and creature baits that work there too. One more bass lake, and we're going to move to crappie. But bass on Levon, black bass 10 to 20 foot in brush piles, timber, and rocks. Wind-blown timber and riprap is your best bet. Carolina rigs, Texas rigs, crankbaits, and swim jigs. I want to tell you about some crappie fishing on Fork with Terry Moon. Start on the main lake points around the tree lines, the brush piles, and creek channels in 15 to 25 feet of water. The next full moon, definitely check those 8 to 15 foot. They will move back up. If you're not getting bit, try tipping your jig with a minnow. And basically, you just got to go real slow right now. So here is another beautiful pic of Terry Moon with her clients and just a huge mess of crappie.
Terry knows how to catch them crappie, man. I love her. Tell her I said hi.
Yes, I will. And you know, Tawakoni crappie are biting, Levon crappie are biting. I haven't got to talk about a lot of the catfish, so I'm going to move forward quickly. Stripers on Tawakoni are good. Main Lake 85. The stripers are in about 18 to 22 feet on the humps. Small slabs and stuff are working. But catfish on Tawakoni is unreal. 15 to 20 foot on cut shad out in the deep timber, and you're going to catch some really good catfish. And then one more, Lake Fork. Lake Fork with Jackie Wiggins. All you got to do is pre-bait a hole, sour grain mash, put it in 18 to 25 feet along a creek, and I guarantee you will fill your limits the next day within an hour or less.
That sour mash really gets them coming.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I cannot believe how fast. And the limit's 25 per person. I watched 150 fish, 6 men in 1 hour just last week.
You gotta be careful with that sour mash though, because you're gonna end up making whiskey and/or a really smelly mess.
So real quick, you were talking back on Texoma for the bass, and you went from a Magnum finesse worm to a crankbait. Which do you prefer? And is it a weather thing? Is it a temperature thing? How are you determining to go from a slow finesse type bait to a fast bait?
Early in the morning. The crankbait stuff's early in the morning. On Texoma, early in the morning around the rocks, they're still chasing some shad, whatnot. Those early morning hours, wind-blown points, you can really catch them with the buzz baits, the top waters, the cranks. Once that sun's up high, get a little bit deeper and go to those bigger stuff, the bigger worms and whatnot.
Some great tips. Thanks, Mike. I'm going to take the hot spots from here for the upper fresh region. Captain Mike McFarland says Lake Fork has some great fishing for both bass and crappie. Bass are hitting topwater baits in early morning hours and then switch to a big worm or a jig in the deep structure and submerged timber. Fishermen are catching good daily limits of big crappie suspended in those offshore trees and the typical summer locations.
Well, gentlemen, that was a fantastic show. Rick was missed, but
yes, he was.
You did a great job. You did a great job. You carried us through.
He was barely missed.
You guys
Jim did
killed
great.
it over here at the work.
Picked it up when the bink wasn't there and everything. He did a great job.
That's live TV. That's that's what happens.
He did a great job.
Well, thanks for tuning in, y'all. We'll see you next week. Get out there, stay cool, get out there early, and catch some fish.
Get off the water
Bring
early.
plenty of waters. Stay hydrated.
See you next week. Bye.